is some of that pretty paper. And then a mountain of thanks, inspired by the card. Again, I've mentioned there are over 245 samples in this catalog, and you can use them to inspire you to make your own creations. Here is our mountain hiker, and there is a die that is her walking stick. So that's those fun ones. Then we have our thistle. I am really enjoying the thistle. I know a lot of people sometimes say, oh my gosh, there's quite a few flowers in the Stampin' Up! Catalogs. And for that reason, I love when we have flowers that are unlike any other flower, if that makes sense. And we don't have anything like the thistle. So I've had some fun working with this thistle. First, one of the fun things with the dies is you have dies that actually build thistles that don't require any stamping at all. And used a little non-traditional with the starry sky, the olive, the bashful blue, a little bit of our wood grain. So you have some fun dies that you can literally make just thistles with the dies. A little bit of fun there. Created a window here, and then I just used, excuse me, the watercolor brush, to use two colors. I used bashful blue and Highland Heather, and created that window. That's that beautiful new shimmer paper. And then lastly, this one's got to be one of my favorites. I love this. Lots and lots of detail. This is that really cool paper from the Dainty Design Celebration paper. This little element here, I'll pull this leaf back, is from the Share a Milkshake. It's just a little grid piece that really is a nice element for layering. This frame is from the desert, the Delicate Desert. Your Strength Inspires Me. And then we did what's called Emboss Resist on the thistle. So I had stamped the thistle on some shimmer white's kind of one of my favorite for doing the Emboss Resist. So I used the shimmer white paper and I embossed the thistle in white, used that blending brush to just brush around, and then die cut the thistle out. The nice thing about die cutting your image out is that you can kind of go outside the lines. You don't have to be as careful is the right word. You can color outside the lines safely. So that's one of my favorite cards that I've made recently. And then I'm going to give you some tips both for emboss resist and using large background stamps. We have several large background stamps in the annual catalog as well as in this catalog. The background stamps are designed to completely cover what's called an A2 card. It's a standard 5.5 by 4.25 card. So it will completely cover that background for you. So just as a quick sample before I give you the tips with the background stamps, real simple. This greeting, to the world you are a dad, to me you are the world, is from a really amazing stamp set called Best Year. It's what I call an accessory stamp set. Or a staple stamp set, but for me it's actually an accessory stamp set. Everybody has their go-to stamps. For example, maybe it's the world, but now the world needs some accessories just like your little black dress does. And based on like fun greetings that you might have, you can always make the world look a little bit different, right? And so having a greeting set can totally bring stamps that you haven't used for a while back to life, breathe some life back into the stamps that are sitting on your shelf. So take a look at that Best Year greeting set that's in the annual catalog. This one here, the world needs more women like you. And amen to all of you out there. We need more like you. And when I don't want to worry about coloring and details, and especially like with faces are really hard. So I always just like to do very neutral embossing. In this case, it's white on crumb cake, my go-to for embossing. And those are those leaves that you saw me watercolor. Yes, I made this card between videos. But those are the leaves that I just did. I had that little inspiration. That's another greeting. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And I sandwiched the vellum between a frame, and the frame is actually done with bricks, a little metaphor to building and building together. And then a slimline card. Gives you a chance to show off a little bit more paper. A background stamp entirely fills a card, so I love slimline cards, and we'll be doing a whole video in the coming weeks on slimlines because it gives you more real estate. You have a lot more places to craft and create, and they're no more expensive to mail than a regular card. At least here in the US, they are not. Wishing you the best this world has to offer. You'll see in the last video where that greeting came from, and then a little embellishment from the enjoy the journey. So let me set this aside. Let me pull in some grid paper. And one of the things that I mentioned in one of our videos, I don't even know which one, we've done quite a few so far this weekend, is celebration is a great time to add staples to your collection because you're rewarded with free product for shopping. Or for those of you that want a really, really good deal, you can add $175 in staples for $99 with free shipping to your collection during celebration with our kit. The grid paper to me is one of those essential staples. It's 11 by 17. It keeps your desk clean. It's got measurement marks on, oops, I tore that real good. Measurement marks on it in inches or metric. So it's a nice, thick, big pile. I use this until it is like just almost one color from everything that I'm using it for. I love this paper. It comes in real handy when you're working with your big background stamps. So 2 ways to work with the background stamps. You can work with them on a clear block, or the other way that you can work with them is just to simply leave them in the case, okay? Clear block is going to give you the best details and best results, but if you haven't invested in a large clear block like this and you want to use them, then using them in the case works too. Because it's such a large stamp, it's hard to tap away on the pad. In addition, when you're tapping away on the pad, you may not cover the whole thing. You may pick up ink, you may get weird lines. So I like to leave it rubber side up. I like to take my pad to the stamp, okay? And then we're gonna, well, you know what? Let's just use the back of this one. I wasn't gonna actually do it, I was just gonna talk you through it, but let's do it. So we're gonna ink it up. You can also see that you got the whole thing, okay? I'm gonna lay my piece of paper right on here. And this world stretches, see then I take my paper, I fold it over, and I just gently rub. You wanna be careful not to bend your paper down, but I just kind of rub, feeling the outlines of that. That's gonna keep my hands clean, and I can continue working without smudging cards and things like that. And then you're gonna have that whole image. And then you can easily just take and rinse it off. So that is the easiest way to work with background stamps. A little funny for you, one time, I had a customer that was really frustrated with them and wasn't inking them up well, that she finally put it on the floor and stood on it to get good coverage. One other thing I want to point out, not just with this stamp set, but with other stamp sets in the catalog, the actual image itself will give you an idea of the finished result. So if you look at this card, you may think, oh my gosh, it didn't ink up well. There's some lighter, softer areas. Well, it inked up exactly like it was supposed to if you look at the image. This is called Watercolor World, and it's got some natural shading points to give you that look of watercoloring, okay? So when you go through the catalog, you'll see really, really dark lines. You're gonna see some that are kind of that light gray. You're gonna see some of, you know, this little bit of shading. This is what the finished image looks like. This is in, you know, grayscale black and white, but again, it's not a thick, solid, dark image, if that makes sense. So on this side, I have the world embossed in white, okay? I have an ink pad, I have a blending brush. I just happened to grab the larger one because I'm waiting on my order of the small ones to come through. We were able to order one set of 3, and I'm keeping one clean for presentation purposes. So we've got this, and you're gonna tap down on your ink pad, tap off to the side to get that little, and I'll show you why, but we're gonna tap off to the side, and then you can just start blending. You can go back and you can keep going over it to make it as dark as you want it to be. And I'm working with Tahitian Tide. Just wanna get that ocean waters around the world. And so you would just keep going. Now the reason why I tap off, okay, I'm gonna just start here. By starting here, can you see that darker blob that just showed up? That's that initial ink, and that can be hard to blend out. That's why we tap off first, and then we just kind of keep working around. When you're happy with the shading of it, I mean, I can come back in here, like if I want the And I just use the tip of the larger one. But then you're going to take a tissue and you're just going to wipe over top of the white embossing, and it's going to resist the ink making the image pop. Obviously, the greater contrast the ink is to the white embossing, like had I used Night of Navy, had I used Gorgeous Grape, Mossy Meadow, some of our darker colors, it's going to pop even more. But you can see here, you know, again, using that darker colors, and then what that emboss resist can look like. And it can really pop with the darker colors and do a little bit of shading. So hopefully I've given you guys a couple more great ideas. With any of the videos, as you're watching them, if you see a card and you're like, oh, please make that card from start to finish, I want a full tutorial on that card, or you have questions about any of the projects, where the stamp set came from, you know, where the greeting came from, what color paper it is you're seeing on the screen, please ask it. Ask it though in the context of the video. So like if you have questions about these samples, ask it on this video. Any of the other 7, 8 videos that will, when we're done, I think it'll be 9 videos. Ask them in the context of the video. I will be going through looking for those questions to answer. And then I will use those ideas like, oh, make this card from start to finish kind of idea for planning my upcoming videos in the next couple of weeks for you. So I'll see you back here at noon, guys, with our last video from the launch party. Thanks, guys.